Securing funding through the NDIS for housing, carers and equipment is vital for thousands of Australians living with a disability, but it's not always easy. We spoke with one mum who spent 5 years applying for a home modification grant on behalf of her adult son.
He was always happy. He's like a happy little boy, but he just couldn't do what the other kids were doing. Even now, as a 25-year-old, he wants to do what other people are doing. He wants to be part of society.
Christel's son, Xavier, has cerebral palsy and a sensory processing disorder.
He also needs assistance with every aspect of his day. He needs someone to help him get out of bed. He needs someone to help bathe him, shower him.
The Dirksen family live in Sale in regional Victoria, in a purpose-built rental property for families with disabilities. But after 5 years, the family has been issued an eviction notice, with the owners wanting to rezone the property for commercial purposes.
Where do you go when you've got someone with a physical, significant, complex disability to live? You can't rent just normally. It's quite scary, not being able to sleep, not knowing what's happening next.
When Xavier was little, the family lived in this house in Loch Sport. It was owned by Christel's family and passed on to her and her siblings. But it needs renovations to house an adult with special needs.
Chair's over 300 kilos, so we need a ramp. Doorway's too narrow, and obviously concrete steps, and the angle is very dangerous as well. Oh, it's a really tight fit, obviously, even to manoeuvre him around to the side of the bed. So he's not in a wheelchair, we're actually assisting him physically because a walking frame wouldn't even navigate around that space. It's just not safe.
The family needs to renovate Xavier's bedroom, the kitchen and bathrooms. They're also planning to add a garage and a pool for Xavier's rehabilitation work. But the modifications to make the home accessible will cost more than $1 million. In July 2023, Christel applied for NDIS funding to cover the areas of the home that Xavier would use, around half the house. In total, she applied for around $500,000, with Christel hoping they might at least get Xavier's bedroom extensions covered so they could move in.
You put in the paperwork and then you wait for a reply. And then somebody says, oh no, it's not been approved, but they haven't given you any real reason as to why or what you need to do next.
But their most recent claim, submitted in November 2024, was also rejected.
Having to do with bureaucracy and all of those things gets exhausting when you're trying to change nappies, and I'm trying to care for Xav.
A spokesperson for the NDIS told us they do not fund the cost of building a new home and are focused on helping to modify homes for people with disability to have accessible accommodation.
The delegate that was speaking to us made a statement, a blanket statement that basically said you can't expect them to demolish and fully do a brand new rebuild. And I was just in confusion because we didn't say that in the application, and it's not in the application. So they've clearly not read it.
Nicole Doherty is the founder of Empowered Livability, a housing provider for people with disabilities. She's worked for more than a decade to help people secure housing funding through the NDIS.
Unfortunately, it's pretty common for families to fall through the cracks. When they're rejected, they're not necessarily told, hey, have you thought about this instead? So they're then left saying, well, what do we do now? We've been waiting for 3, 4, 5 years and now still have no outcome.
Nicole says she often advises her clients to look at specialist disability accommodation funding as an alternative to home modification. The NDIS will provide tens of thousands of dollars a year for people to rent purpose-built disability accommodation for up to 20 years.
No one talks about that future planning in terms of, once parents pass away, which is horrible for a parent to have to think about. But thinking about if they have more than one child, that if that house has to be sold, then, the person with a disability has to look at other options.
Christel said she's never been told about SDA funding in her interactions with the NDIS.
I wasn't aware of SDA. I didn't understand the concept. I wouldn't say no outright. I would say we need to consider it, but we need to stay together as a family. So it's on the table.
The family need to be out of their current home by July 15. The uncertainty around the family's living arrangements is taking a toll on Xavier's mental health.
In the last few weeks, he's been showing real signs of depression. His regular happy self is is something that I would hate to see go. And he's not been eating properly, he's not been sleeping properly. And that's just with the stress of being evicted. Would like to think as a society we can improve, and when an organisation as big as the NDIS that really needs to be helping the most vulnerable people in the community do their job properly, those vulnerable people should feel safe and have dignity and have choice.
Given how much we've been told the NDIS is wasted in terms of being rorted by people who, not by people with disabilities, but by providers, you would think that there could be a halfway solution here. I mean, the local federal member of parliament, for a start, should be helping them find a halfway house that they can live in until they can do those renovations. And, maybe they can't get the full cost of the reno, but you'd think that his bedroom and a bathroom and a ramp.
That's right. Or even to put the call out to some local tradies in the area.
Oh, I'm sure they do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that if we could put them in touch with the family and follow up, because this is a family that needs to stay together and they need somewhere to live now.
And they don't have time to navigate complex systems while they're just trying to care for Xavier.
And the clock's ticking down to the 15th of July, for goodness sake.
We did contact the NDIS. You can read the full response from them on our website.